Okay.
Oh, dang. You messed it up.
Yeah, I messed it. Yeah, now we're live. I messed up the whole damn thing.
Oh, just kidding.
Because I had to hit the little gimmick guys. Anyway, thanks for
Isn't this your show?
Dude, the live stream is not my thing. So Brandon on the podcast, he got me into doing this live stream thing.
Okay.
And I'm trying to like have continuity by doing the live stream every week, but neither he nor Chuck could do the live stream this week.
So I'm here because I'm better.
Yeah. So Rachel was
here.
so Rachel was like, I'll do the live stream, and I text you, and I was like, well, I've been seeing all the stuff that, by the way, for those that don't know, I'm Jason Bailey. Thanks for being here. It's my wife, Rachel Guy. And this is the basis for the band Saliva, my very dear and good friend, Brad Stewart. And I've just been seeing all the stuff that you've been doing on the road. And I'm like, let's chat a little bit, because I don't know where in the country you are, but you look extremely cold right now, like really cold.
My thin Florida skin is just not equipped, man. We're actually it's a non-show day today in Salt Lake, and it snowed pretty much the whole way from Missoula, Montana, where we played last night, which I don't know if you know anything about that little town.
Nope.
But it's cool, man, up there. I was like, man, we get to some of these towns, and a lot of times I'm like, how can I buy like property up here? I think it was like tucked in the mountains, and it's like a neat little town, like with some history to it. And there was like the river that flows through it was mostly frozen, but some of it was still moving. It was just like clean air, and like it was like maybe 3,000 feet for the elevation, but it was like, man, it was nice. It was cool. And the theater we played is called the Wilma, this old school theater, and I'm pretty sure it sold out. It's like a 1,500 seat room, but it was packed in there, man. It was awesome.
Have you ever been told Ty Lawrence says that you look like Chipper Jones from the Braves? You ever get Chipper Jones before?
Not Chipper Jones, but I know, he's from Jacksonville. He went to Bowles.
Really?
In Jacksonville. He's one of the players, I think, that went right from high school to the majors. He didn't mess around in the minors or nothing. He just went and, was a superstar. He was that good. Yeah. I have gotten, what was that show? Blossom?
Yeah. Oh,
definitely get that one. Yeah. I get that one. I get that.
Yeah. So Bowles High School, I know that. I played college football with their running back. This dude, it was D2 stuff, but he was really good. And that's how I learned about the school. Like that school, like there's certain high schools that exist, especially in Florida. And, Florida, Georgia, I always give credit. Florida, Georgia have the best high school players in the country.
I agree.
I know people will argue with that all you want, but, especially, in the 90s when I was coming up, you had the Florida, Georgia All-Star Game, and you just had all these amazing athletes, me not being one of them, coming out of Florida and going off and playing at these big schools. But Bowles was one of those powerhouse schools in the state of Florida that I remember this guy coming out of, but a lot of athletes. I didn't know Chipper came out of that school, though.
He did. And, there's a quarterback that came out of there quite recently by the name of Mac Jones.
Really? Mac Jones came out of there?
So he's a Jaguar player now. He played for New England, and I don't know what his status. I don't know if we kept him or not. I hope that we did. But I know there's been a lot of movement within the Jaguar organization as far as, head coach, Jacksonville, the community.
You're a diehard. You're a diehard Jacksonville Jaguars fan.
Man, I was born and raised in Jacksonville, dude. I kind of have to be, as painful as it is, and it has been. I feel like we're overdue every year, and then every year it just doesn't happen, and it's so sad. But I mean, who else am I going to root for, dude? I live there.
Those are your people.
Yeah. So let me tell you a Jacksonville story, a Jacksonville Jaguar story. So every year, Rach and I, and usually the family, we would have our family vacation at Atlantis in the Bahamas, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And we hadn't been for last 2 years, but we're going this year. So I was booking this stuff. But I don't know if it was the last. So the last time we went, our daughter's friend died while in our care, and
she's okay.
Yeah, she was.
You have to say that she's okay.
Yeah, she was brought back to life. I know. I love saying it like that because everybody gets the same face as Brad just got. Like, what the shit, dude? So yeah, she went into the water, like this little cove area. She panicked, got water in her mask, sucked in too much water. They carried her out. It was the most horrible, worst experience ever in our lives. It was traumatizing. Thank God there was a doctor on the beach. She brought her back to life, blah, blah, blah. So she's good.
Did she look into the light? Just asking for a friend. I
don't know. We never
go into
asked
the light at all, or okay.
Did we ever ask her that, Rach?
Well, I did not ask her that. You know what? It was a little traumatizing on my birthday.
Oh God.
I don't know. Yeah, to like one of our like extra kids. So yeah, I didn't ask her about that. I'll have to ask her. I can text her and ask her.
Yeah,
I don't know. She may not want to remember or revisit that. I don't know.
It was kind of one of those things that we just don't talk about much.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, it was one of those things. So one of these trips, we're big gamblers, so we're in the casino. And playing was when they had Mississippi Stud, which is my favorite game in the casino. And it was at the time on the 2 end seats, there was this like Armenian guy that was angry as shit, and me. And if you want to win at a table game in a casino, the first thing you have to do is have a good time. Positive energy brings good cards, which
everything
brings a lot of money. This guy was just bitching and complaining that people were going to eat at Nobu, because I guess Nobu gives money to people with guns that kills his people or something like that. And
he wasn't very happy.
He was not very happy. So, we're sitting there, we're playing. The table's not fun. It's dead, but this is the only Mississippi Stud table that they have in the casino. And then a group of younger people, like around our age, that were partying, having a good time, they come in the middle of us. And they're, good-looking guys, good-looking girls. They're fucked up. They're high, having a blast. Guy's got a Jacksonville Jaguars hat on.
Oh boy.
So he sits down, and within 3 hands, he hits quads, which is like for thousands of dollars.
Yep.
This other guy was all pissed off, so he leaves. So we start bullshitting, and I was like, "Oh, dude, you from Florida?" He's like, Yeah. I live in Jacksonville. I'm like, "Oh, cool, man." I was like, I spent a lot of years in Florida when we were in Georgia and stuff. Anyway, it turns out to be Rachel's Mike Slow. Thank you very much, O2 Minds. So it ended up being Josh Scobie.
Okay, kicker, yeah.
Kicker for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah.
Won a ton of money, had never played the game before in his life, and was like, "We'll see you guys. We're out."
He didn't tip anybody either.
No.
He was just like, I got my money. Bye.
Yeah. See ya.
Did he know though? I mean, like, I'm a terrible gambler. I probably would have left too. I don't know. Just to win ever against those folks, I feel like the odds are so stacked against you, right? I mean,
They are.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
You practice often.
I practice often.
Yeah.
So if you got to hit your pockets, like it's in certain games, you have a little bit of an edge and stuff, but you got to be a gambler. You can't be in the mindset. Like you can't be afraid to lose money. Let's just put it that way. You know what I mean?
That's
you
what
got to
they're counting on.
Well, yeah, obviously,
Sure.
You have to be optimistic that you're going to win money. And you have to understand that, like, I have 2 rules when gambling. One is don't gamble with money you don't have to lose, right? And 2 is you have a good time, So those are the rules, in poker, which I play like often. There's a poker room 9 minutes from my house.
Mm-hmm.
This guy who's a professional poker player is teaching me a lot. And one of the things is he's like, dude, once you cash your money into chips, they're not yours. They're chips. They're plastic chips. And once they're in the middle of the table, they really ain't yours. Like, if you lose them, you lose them. And you got to be cool about it because you put them in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's a story today that I saw. One of the big tournaments, was a WSOP. Yeah. So World Series of Poker has like these circuit tournaments where, they'll get hundreds of players, and, the top percentage of players will get a free roll into the main tournament, which is in Vegas, which has got tens of thousands of players where you can win $8, $9, $10 million. It's like the World Series of Poker, right? It's on ESPN and everything.
Right.
So this dude, I don't know what exactly happened. I'm guessing he got sucked out on the river or something. He flips out in the middle of this tournament and starts flipping over the tables, and chips are going everywhere. And one of the players tackles him and starts beating him up. And I mean, this is like, that's called being on tilt, right? That's when you really, like, think about this. How many times has something gone wrong whether it's been with Saliva, Brad, whether it's been with Shinedown, whether it's been with Fuel, something out of your control goes wrong. What do you do as a professional? You don't flip out. You don't bitch and complain. You just, maybe.
Well, I would say in most cases, yes, you try to handle yourself, as a pro. Full disclosure, there has been times where I flipped. One time in Fuel, we were playing in Michigan, Bay City, with Saliva, and they played before us, and it was before I joined Saliva, obviously. And they got there barely on time. They had driven from the East Coast, and they got their stage set up, and they went up there and just crushed it, right? We get up there, Fuel, and we're like, all right, we're ready to do our thing, and the PA is completely fucked. Like the sound, there's feedback. It was like a different PA. It was completely different, right? So at the end of the set, what's that?
I said somebody unplugged something for you.
Something, man, like Gremlins.
Sabotage.
Yeah, Gremlins or something in there, right? So I go up to the drum riser at the end of the set. And I first throw my bass, and I take the drummer, Shannon Boone, and I push him like that, and he flies off the back of the riser. I mean, I was so mad, right? And then I just King Kong the drums, kind of like kicking them over, cymbals and shit's going everywhere and stuff. Then, if that wasn't enough, they had these, like fifth wheels, like RV type things for the dressing rooms, I proceeded to destroy the dress. I destroyed one of those, and it got back to the promoter, and we actually lost a couple shows that she was going to put us on.
Wow.
So the moral of the story is don't be an asshole, don't destroy shit. The thing was, though, they said it was the drummer that did it. So somehow I got out of it.
Oh, wow.
So do they take that, the promoters, if you're costing them a couple $1,000s, they take it personally, right? Because they can't take it out of your money.
Well, those RVs, someone that owned the company, like some local like RV sales and service company had brought those in as like to kind of advertise, but also help out the promoter, probably, as more like promotion. So I don't know if they had to pay for the repairs or the extent of the damage, because I kind of lost it for a second there. But yeah, I felt bad. But at the end of the day, we were so stressed on that run because we had driven through the night, and we weren't in a tour bus on that run. We were like, actually, there was only a handful of shows, so they're trying to save money, and we were in like I think it was a Sprinter van, and good luck trying to sleep. Dude, it was like good luck trying to sleep. I mean, you're like, there's no like shocks in the back, like a bus has the differential with the double axles where it's just smooth. You can sleep in that thing. But so people were stressed. It was kind of bad.
When for those that don't know, Brad was there at the launch of Shinedown. So was I. So it was the original lineup was Brent and Brad and Barry and Jason,
Right.
Jason Todd. What was the first vehicle that you guys started touring with or in?
Well, we did have an RV briefly, and we completely destroyed the RV, and not because we were mad or on purpose, like destroying it. It was just think of like 10 guys going in and out. I mean, those things are for like, mom and pop, maybe take it to the mountains like twice a year or whatever.
Vacation.
Like a little vacation, it's not for people like touring personnel. And like the first thing that screwed up was the steps. Then it was the door. then the blinds. I mean, everything just started falling apart. Mm-hmm. So then I think I know where you're going with this. So we got a bus. They gave us a bus, but it was a short bus.
Yeah. Well, the first big bus you guys got was Three Doors' old bus, right?
Well, it was the first big bus we got was a 35-foot coach. It wasn't the 45 typical, and it did not have the double axle. But it had 9 bunks, but it was shorter. So every time
we froze. We got frozen Brad.
Oh, look at you freeze.
He looks like a special needs kid.
Aw.
Oh no, there you are. Yeah, there we go. There we go. But I remember it was at the House of Blues, Orlando, downtown Disney, and I got on the bus, and I remember one of y'all saying to me, going, wow, check, you're very happy with this, but you're like, yeah, this is Brad and Three Doors' old bus. And you're very excited. I remember that night.
Yes. That was a long time ago, but we had a lot of different buses. But yes, I mean, I do remember there were tours. You got to remember, we didn't know, just automatically out of the gates. Now all of a sudden we're rolling around in 5 buses playing arenas. I mean, we had to open and play clubs where people didn't show up sometimes. That's why we toured with Three Doors a lot, because we got to be first of 4 on an arena tour or small arenas. And then we thought we were big and bad. We got a record out, we got a single, it's doing well. And then we do our own tour. And we played sometimes 50 people for our, because the rubber hadn't hit the road yet. People were still finding out about the band. There was, I don't think 45 had come out yet, stuff like that. So we were like, when can we go back with Three Doors and open for 30 minutes, and we really cut our teeth and learned how to be a band on their stages. I'm no doubt about that. And those guys were really good to us, but we were brand new. We didn't have any fans. It was basically a favor. We were managed by the same management, right? So we made $250 a show probably for that first 9 months.
Really?
So we were on tour support from the label. So just going further and further into debt.
Wow.
Yes. And we did that. I mean, I don't think we became self-sufficient until the Van Halen tour in 2004 came up.
Right.
And then they're like, hey, you guys are up for this tour. The only problem is they're not going to pay you. Yeah. So you have to go back on tour support, even though you finally have enough value in most of these markets around the country to do your own touring and pay your crew and not rely on the label. So the label comes back and goes, do you guys think you could do it in a van or an RV? Because they were paying for it. They had, because Van Halen didn't pay us $1 of it, and that was just it. It was strictly for promotion for our band,
Yeah.
So right. Yeah. So, and we were like, no. So I think we got Seether's old bus, and it was a full size coach. It was an older, Prevost coach. Yeah. But we did the tour in that thing, man. So yeah.
I remember talking with Brent when he was like, dude, I got to tell somebody, I got to talk to somebody about this. It's not definite yet, but it looks pretty good. We're about to, we're going to go and open for Van Halen.
Yeah.
And I'm like, shut the fuck up, dude. I was so happy for you guys. And so proud. I was like, I mean, this is it, man. This is what is going to bring you guys up. And I was just very happy for it. He was scared. I mean, he was like afraid that the audience wasn't going to accept the Shinedown music at the time. And rightfully so. I could totally understand that.
Yeah.
It was, like people see you guys on stage and it just looks like, as from a fan's perspective, they don't get to hear those stories as much as, me saying, well, the lead singer of Shinedown was worried, let's just say. I don't know, scared is the right word, but he was worried opening up for Van Halen. Yeah, I would be worried just to meet Eddie Van Halen, but to open up for Van Halen is just a whole nother thing. And that's a little terrifying. You're going out there, even you going out there going, am I going to play up to standards to open for fucking Van Halen? Right. I mean, that's a lot of pressure.
It's kind of funny because they ended up calling us the Acrobats.
Why is that?
Because they only gave us like the very front triangle of the stage. They had all this staging and they had these catwalks but they said, don't go out on the catwalk, or actually you can, but you're not going to be lit up. So no one's going to see you.
Oh,
so we took that little triangle they gave us and we jumped around like, I mean, they were like, here come the Acrobats, and and it was funny too. Cause they get, the people, the fans, they get their tickets and we weren't even on the bill. So half the time they're kind of walking down with their drinks and they're like, hey, there's a band on stage.
Yeah.
So that was odd too. We weren't billed as even the opener, dude. It was kind of like a kick in the nuts, but it was like, we gained a lot of fans. Like, after that tour, we'd go again and tour around those same cities. And people were like, we saw y'all with Van Halen. Can't believe y'all are playing back here again in this little old place, whatever. And that's what it was, dude. I mean, we had to earn that shit. It was not automatic at all.
Well, if you look in retro on actually how brilliant of a move it is, what you see now with the older bands are parents bringing their kids.
Yeah.
And so the kids, that was like, something for everybody, right? It's like the parents are going to introduce their kids to Van Halen, and their kids are going, "Oh my God, I've heard this band Shinedown. I like them," right? So if you look back in retro, it was actually brilliant booking on whoever's part.
Well, you know what's funny too is we ended the tour in California, but they let us do a one-off in Jacksonville because they were coming through, and you know, it was kind of surreal for me because I had seen Alice in Chains when I was in 11th grade in that Coliseum. It was a different Coliseum. They dozed it and built a new one. So I'm like sitting there going, I was the kid in 11th grade out there watching my favorite band. I loved Van Halen back then too. It was the one with, it was For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge. And it was the, you know, Pound Cake with the drill and the whole thing. But we were there to see Alice in Chains, not gonna lie to you. And they had 30 minutes, just like they gave us. And so here I am in retro, you know, I'm now on the stage looking out there, and just the perspective, and just it was surreal. You know, really cool. You know?
So who was the first band after Shinedown's mainstream success that you guys brought on tour with you, like Three Doors did to you guys?
You know, we did a lot with Hailstorm. You know, that was same management as well. You know, our management, and you know, Shinedown still has the same manager, Bill McGathy at Indigoot. You know, he had, like, when I was in the band, he had like Puddle of Mud, Saliva, Chevelle. You know, they signed Blackstone Cherry. And they ended up managing, you know, Hailstorm, and so a lot of times Bill would kind of do handshake deals with the same agent too. So we had Scott Sokol and John Dittmar at Pinnacle. So did Saliva. So did some of Bill's other bands. So it was just very easy for them to package us together. And then it was just a matter of, you know, who was on top and bringing the new bands out, or you know, us supporting Three Doors, or so I'd say, you know, maybe Hailstorm ended up doing it. They had kind of a slower build, you know, too. But I mean, Lizzie Hale's a superstar now, I think, you know, I mean, so, but I remember doing stuff with Silvertide, you know.
Oh yeah.
And they were before us on some tours, and I think we supported Tantric on a couple runs. Yeah. So I mean, you know, we definitely. I'm trying to think of some other bands. We supported a lot back then, though. I mean, we did headlining stuff, but I'm just, when I was in the band, like we did the Rob Zombie Godsmack tour in 2006. We were first of three, of course.
Yeah.
And we're up there, and we have no production, no lights, hardly.
Yeah.
And we played our little 30-minute set, and here comes Rob Zombie after us, and it's like a freaking freak show, dude. Like, he's got gas and dancers and a big robot and the whole thing, and I'm sitting there like, Jesus, does this happen after us every night? And of course, we were doing shed, so by then it was dark. And there's lights and pyro and all this shit. And we just got out there and kind of just did our thing. You know, it was not embarrassing, but it was like, damn. It's not. And now, of course, Shinedown's at a point where they have their full-on production, and they're playing the arenas now as headliners. So, I mean, it's all, you know, it's all stages, you know.
Yeah. Well, do you guys have on this Saliva tour, and you're with Hinder, do you have big production or minuscule? What do you, I mean, like putting together that set? I can only imagine the way that I think Bobby thinks is like, okay, this is what we have. This is what we can control. This is what this is what we can do. How do we do it? I'm assuming that's the way he thinks.
Absolutely. I mean, and within reason and within budgetary restrictions too. I mean, and also we're supporting. So, but the rooms we're playing are like, you know, like House of Blues, maybe bigger sometimes, maybe a little bit not as big, like theaters and concert halls and stuff. So, I mean, we can't really bring in full on pyro, you know. Hinder's got some video screens. We have a lighting package with us that's actually pretty badass. The lights, I feel like our lights, it's a good show. I mean, just the lights alone that we carry, and then our energy on stage, it's rocking up there, man. I'll tell you, it's good times. So, and then some bands I feel like can use that as a crutch, the production, and they get lazy, you know. So we don't. We still give it hell every night, you know. Well, in some cases we can't even bring our lights on stage, but.
You should like bring a guy like me on tour with you and just carries around a flashlight and be honest with the audience. You're like, look, this is all we can afford.
This is it. Just and you could just do it manually, you know, click the button, you know, like
just, you know, that kind of thing. Did you ever become friends with Lzzy Hale's brother?
RJ? Yeah. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
So do you stay in contact with him?
Man, you know, I've seen them at festivals and stuff along the way, and they're super sweet, and you know, we reminisce and stuff, but I don't necessarily day to day talk to them too much, you know, but I mean, I'm proud of them for everything they've done and we're able to do. I mean, it was, like I said, you know, when they won the Grammy, I was like, that's crazy. Good for them, man. That's a big deal, because now your value goes up, you know, with a nod from the Academy. I mean, it's pretty special, man. You know, like.
So he started a band called Chemical Fire, I think.
Chemical Fire, yeah.
Right, with Taylor, the drummer for Lit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually really good, you know. But I can only imagine, you know, like you think, you know, you're in a band that has success, whether it's Shinedown, Saliva, Halestorm, whatever, and then you branch off to be artistic, and then you realize that you don't have that same, people aren't just coming out to see you like they do the Salivas or the Shinedowns or the Halestorms. I don't know if you look at that as humbling or you look at that as motivation. Which one?
I'd say motivation, but you should always stay humble. I mean, and like I was talking about the early roots, even from those bigger bands, they weren't always as big as they become, you know, they end up becoming. So, I mean, I'm kind of starting to talk to Jason Todd here recently, and we're sharing some music back and forth. So,
really?
I mean, we feel like, you know, I've always stayed in touch with him. We've always been bros and stuff since we both were let go from the band. But we kind of reconnected on a level this time to where we're considering, you know, working together again and stuff. And I think it could be really cool. Right now, it's in the super early, just, you know, we don't have a name for it, nothing. We're just kind of like, you know, let's share some music. And if it's something that we think that people are going to dig into, then awesome. I mean, for us, you know, I do feel like he and I had something to do with the way the early band sounded. I mean, let's face it, after we were gone, maybe Sound of Madness was probably the last record that kind of had what I considered to be what I always thought Shinedown was and should be, you know what I mean? And then it started changing, and obviously, I mean, it didn't hurt them at all by changing. You know, stylistically, they had new members in the band, and the band, you know, just kept going up in popularity. So obviously, it's, you know, but we do feel like there's a few million people that bought those first records that might want to hear, you know, from the guys that were, you know, in that first, you know, version of the band. That I mean, I still write like that. I still write like the way you know, my songs that did and Jason's songs that ended up on those records, on the first two records. I mean, stylistically, I haven't necessarily changed. You know, I write on the Saliva records, and it's kind of in the same wheelhouse. But I guess we just, you know, in theory, not that we're going to roll out there and all of a sudden all those people are going to buy the record if we make one. You know what I mean? But I mean, just for us to have the satisfaction of working together again and seeing what happens. You know, like I think there was a certain level of energy in the first four. People in those first two records. I mean, there's some, and maybe it was tension, and maybe it was crazy energy, but it was what it was, you know. So,
well, I'll tell you, you know, and I had this conversation with Eric, you know, with Shinedown. I had him on for his new solo stuff, which is really good, and the way that dude's mind ticks is trippy. He is like really creative, right? Great guy. I don't know how well you know him or not, but he obviously taking your spot in Shinedown. And he has got, I asked him, I said, hey, look, from, you know, what I understand, I might even got this from you, I don't remember, but I was like, you have a lot of say in the creative of the band, right? So we talked a lot about that. Now, from my perspective of being with you guys then and seeing the growth of the band, is that you and Jason brought a grittiness to Shinedown, right? That now they don't necessarily have that grit. Not that's a bad thing. It's just a different style of rock, you know, versus what, you know, but there were a lot of issues in the band, you know, I mean, not only mind issues, but chemical issues going on, with everybody. So maybe like it worked, but what's going to be not saying that was coming from you, but I'm saying that could have possibly been the crash and burn of the band too, especially with Brent, I mean, I was on that bus with you guys and Jason in Tampa, and that was fucking, I felt so, I've never been more uncomfortable in my life. That's why I had to leave. I was like, I don't want to see this. I don't even want to be around any of this. I don't want somebody asking me about this because I don't want to have to lie, and it was just weird. So, it all worked out. I see what you are doing and what Bobby is doing with the Saliva brand and the band is great. I mean, if you follow, for those that are here, on the stream, follow Saliva on social media, you've seen 2025 is the year of Saliva. All this new music that has been released, starting with Time Bomb and then the big tour and now these festivals that you guys are going to be a part of. A couple, Shinedown's on the bill, Rocklahoma. I saw that was just announced, I think today, and you guys bump into each other. It's all good. High fives. Remember back in the day or what?
Oddly enough, I've been out of the band since 2007. So let me say that again. I've been out of the band since 2007.
I hear you. Yeah.
That was like another lifetime ago, right?
So, a child.
We have children that old.
Yeah, right. We have children that old.
No, I know. My youngest son Liam was born in 2007. So, and he's driving a car. He's he's a junior in high school now. So,
like human being old.
Yeah, ago.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's a human being ago.
Pretty much. Yeah. I mean, a generation ago. I mean, so the only time though, since I've been gone, including when I was in Fuel and now Saliva, I only really ran into them one time at a festival that we played the same day on, oddly enough, right? So that was in 2022, I think, and we did the Will Rock Festival, WIIL. It's like the Chicago area. And I didn't see Brent and I didn't see Eric. I saw Barry and I had lunch with Barry. Saw Zach briefly too, and they Zach and Barry and a couple of their crew guys came and watched our set, the whole set. They stood there the whole time, man. And that was a festival where the guy from Falling in Reverse canceled.
Oh yeah.
So it was Jelly Roll and like Jackal and us. So we kind of got bumped up in our slot when he canceled. But we were still on different stages. So they were still kind of on the other side of like the field, you know what I mean? And that was the last show of a run for us. So it actually started raining and the festival got delayed and we had flights. We didn't even stay. I think Jelly Roll ended and we were out by the time he ended. So like I said, I didn't see Brent. I haven't spoke to him since 2007.
Wow.
So, it's one of those things. I mean, if I saw him, I mean, like I said, that was 18 years ago. Like, I've since been in two other bands. I mean, it's not a problem for me. So, but yeah, I think on that one in Baltimore, in Ocean City, is it? Yeah.
Yeah, the one in Salisbury. Yeah.
Yeah, that one. I don't think we're on the same day, are we?
I don't think y'all are on the same day. That's my hometown.
Oh wow! So you'll be there? Y'all going for it?
Hey, let's go.
We can. The only problem I have is I hate driving over the Chesapeake Bay Bridge. It terrifies me. Absolutely. Oh my God.
But we could go through the tunnel.
We could go through the tunnel through Virginia, but I can't. Have you ever driven across the Chesapeake Bay Bridge?
I think. I mean, I've been to Ocean City, but I want to say maybe we came up through like
Virginia, and then you go under the water, under the bridge.
So yeah.
Through the tunnel.
That I'm cool with. I can go under the water. That's fine. I feel like if something were to happen, I can swim up.
What?
The other bridge, you're so high up, and especially during the fall months when it shakes, there's like box trucks that fall off the bridge because the wind gusts are so bad. Terrifying. That's like my biggest fear. I'm going, okay, so let me think about this. Car goes off bridge, open the sunroof, get up, surf it down, do a diver's jump right before it hits the water, then I can survive.
So what he's
you're
saying
screwed.
We're not flying into BWI and driving over the Bay Bridge. We're going to fly into Virginia and then drive up through the tunnel.
Yeah, that we can
Perfect.
do. That we can do.
I can see my grandma while we're there.
Yeah.
I've been to Annapolis. That's not the same bridge, right? Or is it? to
Well,
get to Annapolis.
Yeah, you would have to cross that bridge.
So then I've been to it. Okay, all right.
I'm from Annapolis. Well, I'm from Severna Park, which is right outside of Annapolis. So
Right. Okay.
that's
okay.
where I'm originally from. So yeah, so like when we go up there, I don't really see my family. We see her family, but we'll go into Severna Park or Annapolis, and her family's all out there at Salisbury.
By Ocean City.
By Ocean City, where y'all are playing. Where are you? Do you know? Because this festival is every year, I think. Is it on the?
It's new.
Oh, it's new.
It's brand new, I think. Yeah.
It's only been there. I think they've done it one other time last year.
Yeah, a boat can't knock down the Chesapeake Bay Bridge. It's too high. By the way, it's not an open closed bridge.
Well, when I was in Fuel, we used to play the Purple Moose.
Oh my God! Can I tell you? That's when I saw you.
No way! Oh man. That's
do you remember?
Remember me? You remember me?
Listen. Do you remember the band shirts like from back in the day? Do you remember what your shirts looked like?
Yeah.
The one with the little F in the circle, and on the back they had the wings.
Yep.
I have that shirt.
Yes.
From then.
I love that logo. That's just such a cool logo. The Fuel
Such
logo.
a cool shirt. Yeah.
That's bad. That's awesome.
Yeah. I was like, I wonder if he remembers that shirt. I still have that shirt.
The Purple Moose isn't something you just forget about.
Oh my God, no, not at all. Once you have gone, you will never forget. It's real dirty. But it's so fun.
People there were good to us. We would park the bus. Sometimes we'd hang out there for like a couple of days, or we would play one day off, and then play another day.
Yeah.
At the Moose. And we cook hamburger, we grill out and stuff because they had like lodging behind, that strip, and they would house the, I don't know where they got their workers from, but it was like maybe it was Serbia or somewhere like.
A lot of times, yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah,
they would house them. So there was, we would just park the bus. So we'd have places to sleep, but yeah, they were good to us, man. They were super sweet to us.
I worked over the summer I would work at Brass Balls Saloon, which is right down near Purple Moose, and at Hooper's Crab House.
Okay.
During the summer.
When you were in Fuel, Brett was still the lead singer?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's been the lead singer the whole time, right?
Well, what happened was, so Brett left the band, and they put out a record with Torrin Green. They replaced Brett, and I know expectations were high, but it just wasn't. It wasn't Brett. The guy's a good singer, though, Torrin, and I just don't know if it was received that well. And so it kind of went in limbo for a second. And Brett had left, and he was doing the Riders on the Storm thing with Ray and Robbie from The Doors.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So he did that, and he did his Jim Morrison thing for a minute there, and then come around like late 2009. His manager was like, why don't you try and do Fuel again? Like, Carl's not the guitar player, Carl Bell. He's kind of got the band kind of on hold since the last record. And, so Brett ended up sort of leasing the name from Carl, because I believe it was Carl's name. It was his brand. So when I joined in 2010, that's what it was. It was Brett, and Brett hired his own band. So his former bassist Jeff didn't want to do it anymore. I think he had opened like a rehearsal space in LA or something, and he was like, "Nah, I'm good." And so Brett brought in Ken Chalk on drums and me on bass, and Yogi Lonich originally came in. Which Yogi, he was in Buck Cherry. He ended up doing Melissa Etheridge, Chris Cornell solo stuff. Like, he's awesome guitar player. So yeah, we did it like that for a minute, and then Yogi left, and I brought Jason in for about 6 months from Shinedown.
Really? Well,
he and I got to be on stage together. Yeah,
Jason's turned into, or always been, but he's a heavy guitar player. Yeah. The stuff that he's doing now is really, really heavy.
Well, he came from a band called Nefarian, which was a local band in Jacksonville, and they were way heavier than what we were doing. So he kind of did bring, like No More Love on that first record. That was kind of Jason's baby, stylistically. And when that shit kicks in, it's pretty heavy and dark, and it's intense, So But yeah, so we did it like that for a minute, and then Jason ended up. It didn't work out with Jason, and we brought in a guy, Andy Anderson from Sweden, and that lineup lasted several years, and then I ended up leaving in 2015 and joined Saliva at that point.
How does that work in a band? So like Fuel, for example, Saliva, we all kind of know what happened. Josie left the band and the brand was there. It was Wayne's brand, right? It belonged to Wayne.
The way I do believe their contract was set up that so leaving members, whether fired or whether you quit, you forfeit your rights to the brand. So when Josie left, Dave, the bass player, Novotny, and Wayne, of course, and Paul, they moved forward with the brand, and they brought in Bobby, and they actually brought back John Montoya for some tours too, which he wasn't an OG, but he was in the band.
But it wasn't Josie's band. Josie didn't start Saliva.
Well, he didn't own the brand. I don't know exactly how it was split up, but it was kind of split up to where it was like, well, if you walk, then good luck. It's just not your band anymore. It'd be kind of like if you opened a restaurant, right? And it was called Saliva Hamburgers, right? Mm. And a fan of mine, Michael Stewart, actually put it to me like this, and it made complete sense, right? So, and you have this recipe for these hamburgers, and it's like the best hamburgers. But one of the founding people that started the restaurant decides they want to leave, and they do leave, and then the other people keep Saliva Hamburgers going, right?
Right.
And then, but over the course of time, people leave the company for various reasons. But then one of the people that had already left 10 years ago, all of a sudden wants to come back and run the business, Saliva Hamburgers, but it was no longer that person's to run anymore. That's not to say you can't open up another hamburger joint down the street. You just can't run Saliva Hamburgers anymore. You get what I'm saying? And that was sort of the metaphor for sort of the way it was kind of structured, Mm-hmm. And so with Wayne, he was the last surviving member from the original band. And he and Bobby had a corporation they had set up that had a death clause in it.
Oh, really?
So surviving members between the two of them in that corporation, whoever the member was, carries the rights. And so that's the way that the trademark office and just as far as the legality of things, that's the way it was. That's the way it was. That's just, that was, it was contested, and that's what the ruling was as far as, and it's a 10-year trademark. So, and this isn't nothing but business. This is not personal. This is the way, these are the deals people signed, and they were probably advised to do so, or maybe they weren't. Maybe they were, I don't know how it was negotiated. I was in another band when they were doing that sort of thing. But these things were contractually binding situations that these members were a part of. So whether you're the original person or not, that person signed that contract. And so your rights are gone at that point.
I'm going to make the executive decision now. I did not realize it worked like that, but I should leave the BS brand to you, Rach, my wife.
Hey, I have the same initials.
Me.
Hold on, wait for it. Yeah. So here's the thing is that I think it would make more sense to leave it to Brad because that's his initials. Brad
All right,
Stewart.
listen, Brad, if I cut you, I said, if I cut you,
don't kill me.
So he could do the show out on the road, traveling and Saliva and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then you just get whatever. And trust me, there's not a lot of money in this, but any residuals, get a check for a couple dollars, every once in a while.
You do all the work.
Right.
Just let me know what you need from me.
There you go.
I'm here for you.
Don't count on it paying your rent or anything. It's just something fun to do. Was Brett Scallions for Fuel? Did he start the band?
I don't know. I don't think he was the original singer because they had a band called Small the Joy before Fuel, right? And then they got Brett in the band, and Carl Bell was a very strong songwriter lyrically and musically. And I got to give it to the guy. He's a bad motherfucker walking when it comes to writing songs. And playing. He's a great guitar player too. So, and Brett's a great singer and a great songwriter too. Not to discount that. And I know Brett contributed to those Fuel records. But I don't know, as far as from a business perspective, exactly how it shook out for them contractually, as far as who owns the brand or who owns the majority of the brand. I mean, it was probably a corporation, whereas members had some sort of stake in it. But I think the main stake was probably, it was Carl's stake. So, I mean, you know, and, you know, he's back out doing it with a new singer, and he's got Kevin Miller in the band. And, you know, we played shows with that version of Fuel, and they kick ass, man. And I love those songs. I was sitting there, you know, you spoke of that Ocean City show. And so Fuel's on the bill, Saliva, Shinedown. I'm like, man, I know about 100 songs between these three bands I could fill in.
So here it's funny you say that, Brad. I don't know why I was thinking about this the other day, but I was thinking about you even before I asked about
He
this.
thinks about you sometimes when he's in the shower.
I have
no, come on. Stop.
I have weird conversations with myself, but I was thinking about I was thinking about how many artists have been in different bands that had the popularity for a generation or a decade. And then your name pops up in my head, and I'm like, okay.
Oh, look at you.
So you've got Puddle of Mudd, right? You go back to a little bit of the Puddle of Mudd stuff, right? I like
that one.
Right?
Very early Puddle of Mudd. I did audition, but just as a writer on Control.
Right. But still, Control. That was Puddle of Mudd's first big song, big hit.
That was a fun one.
You know, that's when everybody was going, wow, this West guy sounds a lot like Kurt Cobain. He's got some Kurt Cobain, you know, and started, you know, blah, blah, blah. You know, same with Sean from Seether, you know, it was always those comparisons. And then, you know, you get Shinedown, which was, I think, named the biggest active rock band of the decade or something like that crazy, right? And then you get Saliva, which Saliva in its own right, you know, granted you came in later after, you know, post Josie, but still Saliva in its own right kind of gets lumped in with the genre of the little bit of the rap rock stuff.
Hey, you missed Fuel.
I know, I'm getting there.
Oh,
then you get Fuel.
My fave.
Then you get
good ear. She's keeping up. You better watch your ass. You better watch your ass now.
I like that one.
But then you get Fuel, and then if you break it down and you look at the hits, whether you were in the band or not, just associate it with the band. It's kind of like that Josh Homme tree of different bands he was in. You know what I mean? Yeah. Queens of the Stone Age off to Foo Fighters, Grohl, and you know, it's like goes all over the place. The Brad Stewart tree's just kind of the fucking same thing, you know. And you look at the hits: Shinedown, Saliva, Fuel. You know, I mean, Hemorrhage. I mean, that was huge. I mean, that's just one of many hits.
So basically, you rock.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool to say. I hope you're getting residuals for all that shit, you know. But you look at all those hits from all those big bands, and the common denominator is you.
Yeah.
Well, in one form or another, I guess you could say yes. I mean, thankfully I got some writing on and some, you know, and some playing time on band, you know, all three bands. You know, and I'm very proud of that, you know, and not only the songwriting, but even just playing on the records as a performer on the bass and making up bass lines and stuff. You know, it's, you know, but, you know, some of that though, I was mainly kind of just, I missed the big part, you know what I mean? But now Saliva's sort of resurging, and now it's good. It feels good that, you know, like, you know, I wasn't on I wasn't on Every 6 Seconds, you know, we were forming Shinedown at the time. So, but thankfully I was on Leave a Whisper and Us and Them, the first two. And then, you know, the last three Saliva records, and then, you know, Fuel put out a record, but I got to play those songs live for people and got to experience all those hits in the live setting. And that was really a cool thing to do. And, you know, when we did every 20 years with, you know, for Saliva, and the 20-year anniversary of the Every 6 Seconds record, we recut Click, Click, Boom. And we recut, you know, a lot of the songs from that time and some covers and stuff. And that was fun to kind of update those songs with Bobby singing, but also with us playing them.
Yeah. And it's helpful when you do an event like we did with Podcast and Pours 4 with you guys in Orlando. Is like when I'm putting together promo stuff, whether it was for the podcast or for the radio show, I was like, okay, that's Josie's voice. I don't want to use Josie's voice, like for the, so like, thank God your management had sent me some stuff and I was using, yeah, of course you can use the newer stuff, of course, but you gotta, if you're promoting Saliva, you got to put a Click Click Boom in there somewhere, right?
Of course. Yeah, no doubt.
So I'm sitting there going, okay, where the fuck do I find a Bobby Click Click Boom? And, but yeah, then I found out you guys redid some of that stuff, which is cool. I gotta ask a favor. And this is, you've got plenty of time. I hope this is before I die. This is on my bucket list, is one of the things that I've always wanted to do. And I don't have to do the whole thing, but I'm actually more creative than you think. Just maybe when you get stuck, when you're writing a song and you get stuck, shoot me a text and go, any ideas for the next line? I just want a line. Let me tell you, when I got into rock radio in the early 2000s, there was a program director at WJRR that I never got to know, but I knew of him. His name was Diamond Dick Sheets, and he was very much loved in the industry and radio and in the market when he was on the air. He sadly passed away, but he had developed a lot of relationships with a lot of these bands. There was, I forget, it was a kind of like a super group, Double Drive? Was that the name? Yeah. Double. Okay.
Atlanta. I knew their drummer a little bit, Mike. Can't remember his last name. Good guy.
Okay. And they're the really, I think, only radio song that they had gotten played was a song called Imprint.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think Diamond Dick Sheets helped write the song before he died.
Oh, wow.
And the story, obviously it's sad that the man passed away, but I want a line in a song. That's all I
try to come up with, like, the line. When people like in Nashville, the big songwriters, they do a thing where they have like, what's the hook? What's the line gonna be? Click, click, boom. Or is it gonna be, going off like a time bomb, whatever? Like those, that's like more like tagline. That's not quite as melodic. It's like, say Flight from the Inside. I found a way to steal the sun from the sky. That was, that line, that song. I remember we had written and recorded pretty much the whole record. And Brent had the task for the new songs. He still hadn't written the first lyric. He had written like hooks and melodies like that one. But so, I left Los Angeles for the recording of that first batch of songs for Leave a Whisper. And I hadn't even heard what he was going to do on that shit, man, for the most part. I was like, good luck, bro. Like it's a lot of pressure, but he's one of those guys that would work really good when you put him in a corner. He would show up, and he did, and I think we spoke about this on the last time I was on here, or maybe the time before with Better Version.
Yes. Yeah. How that came about. Cause that's my favorite Shinedown song that they never play.
Yeah. Well, the A&R person hated the song, said never wanted to hear it again ever. And I had co-written the song, so I was pissed. And I was like, man, I thought he killed it, and the producer, Bob Marlette, his daughter was like, she heard it. She's like, this is what kids in my high school are listening to right now. And this was, 2002-ish, whatever it was, because the record didn't come out till 2003. And
that's the year I graduated high school.
2002?
Yep.
I was 92.
You're welcome.
Turned 50, man.
Welcome.
Yeah, that's what she was listening to in high school.
It is. It is exactly what I was listening to in high school.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I think "Fly from the Inside" was the safe song for a lead track for a band that no one had heard of, and that's what we went with. And I think it is a great song. I mean, truth be told, I think they only shipped maybe 35,000 records, and we sold 7,000 or 8,000 first week. So It was not one of those like Control and Puddle of Mud. They shipped like 350,000 or something, and they sold like record numbers first week. They had to like scramble for stock, and this is where people still bought CDs and physical copies. So I was sitting there, I'm like, wait, you're only shipping how many? But again, we didn't have Jordan Schur and Fred Durst behind us. We had to go out there and earn that shit.
Yeah. Well, Puddle of Mud, I think a lot of the success from Puddle of Mud was, Wes had, you follow his, obviously, him better than anybody else in this room, but, that first album, he was a complete rock star, right? I mean, he was asshole. And I remember I told him that when the second album came out, he was a lot cooler. You know, he looked like Edge when I saw him from the WWE. And I was like, you don't even look like the same guy. And I was like, I got to be honest with you. I almost didn't even want to talk to you because you were such a dick the first time I met you. And he was actually cool with me telling him that. I didn't care one way or another, but he was like, yeah, this and this and that. So anyway, the thing that Puddle of Mudd had, because I remember I was still in Top 40 radio before I came into rock radio, and having a conversation with the program director of the rock station at the time. Every morning I would see him and I'd pop into his office and just talk music. And I was like, God, this Puddle of Mudd. There was a resemblance of grunge. There was a post grunge era. You know, you talk about the bands that were post grunge, like Candlebox and STP and those types of bands.
I thought even Fuel and Live and bands like that kind of, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. You know, those intermediate bands had still that kind of touch of grunge in them. Puddle of Mudd was the new 2000s version of that.
Sure.
And Shinedown was not. Shinedown was a whole new thing, you know, and having to compete with bands that were rock heavy, Godsmack, for example, Seven Dust, for example, you know, that were grinding it out and say, like, how do you fit into that mold? Because then you're being bombarded on this side with these pop rock bands, Newfound Glory, Good Charlotte, Sum 41, you know, Green Day's putting out a new album, you know, those types of things. Right. And then you still have to compete with radio play of the golds like Metallica and Tool and those types of bands. So where do you fit in? It was a tough time for bands to fit in and have success.
There was a lot of bands that came out during that time that were great bands, but you're right. We were competing for that same airspace, man. I mean, and it was, you know, thankfully our management, you know, was huge into radio as an indie promoter. And also, you know, as a manager had big bands. So he had some leverage to get our songs played, but make no mistake, we did a lot of shit for his other bands that they didn't necessarily do for us, right, as far as that goes. Cause you know, Brent wouldn't really say no to anything. We would, okay, you're going to do 3 radio stations today. You're going to do an acoustic performance. You're going to play at the barbecue joint, and then you're going to go to some dude's house and play on his couch. I mean, it was like that almost every day. Like, and meanwhile, it was like, oh yeah. And by the way, to the program director, why don't you give him a little more spins up in the overnight, and also do that for Chevelle and Three Doors and my other bands too. So there was some work being done on our behalf that helped a lot of other bands, and they might not even know that, you know what I mean? But we did a lot of that stuff, you know, in the early days. I don't know that they do that now, or that they have to, because we kind of teed it up way back then for them, you know, and we built relationships with radio folks. Of course, that's how I met you, you know, and I mean, it's like, you know, we would, every time we come in town, I mean, we went out and shot paintball. We were in Michigan. We did a paintball thing with fans, and, you know, Jason shot our radio rep right between the eyes. It was so awesome, dude. But we just did stuff like that, and it was memorable for people back then, fan experience. And this wasn't necessarily when social media was anything, you know. I think MySpace was just starting.
Right. Well, in Tampa, you guys came out. I used to do an event called Running of the Boobahs, where girls would, you know, run around with their tops off. It was stupid ideas, but, you know, we did a Running of the Boobahs barbecue with Shinedown, and you guys, I mean, like, I made a phone call. I don't even know who I called, and you guys came out and hung out with that. I thought that was pretty. Do you know Ben Badger?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's on the stream right now. He's a good dude, man. He's I think we were talking about you guys.
Oh, I see him. Yeah. Hey, Ben.
Yeah, he's a good dude. We're in these like networking, because we both are small business owners. So we're in these networking. That's how we met. And he came and supported. We had like a second ribbon cutting for a live ozone therapy spa. And he came out and supported that. Great dude. Phenomenal.
We joined the chamber.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're nerdy business owners that have to network. It's really not my thing, but I do my best.
He does a really good job.
Yeah.
I'm sure he does.
He does.
Yeah, it's
my wife. We owned a franchise, Board and Brush franchise out in Ponte Vedra, and we had to do the same thing. We joined the chamber, and then we have the ribbon cutting, and then the other businesses that are in it. You kind of you schmooze around with them, and you try to support them, and they support you and stuff. I get it.
What was it like in your case? did you run into fans where people are going, why are you here? Aren't you like a rock star? Like, what are you doing at this conference room at a Marriott?
He's asking you for a reason.
He wants out of it. Do you need a free pass? Well, I tell you, my wife did a lot more of the face-to-face networking because I actually was the guy, believe it or not, behind the scenes building the things that people would sort of put together. Like we did everything from cornhole boards that people could personalize and to coat racks to, all kinds of different frames. And I was the carpenter, man, and I would go up there and kind of help behind the scenes and stuff. But yeah, the networking thing, I mean, I guess it helps. It does, I can't say that it doesn't, but it can be a drag, right? If
he's in charge of doing the networking part because I have to be in spa and heal people. So that's like,
as you should.
I have to. So he has to talk to people.
Yeah.
Poor bastard, dude. I'm sorry.
It's not bad, right? I've actually grown to enjoy it. It's weird. One would think like the guy that talks for a living and has done it for 30 years
is good at talking to people.
But
Yeah.
it's a different kind of conversation. And then I'm such a no bullshit guy. Like within 60 seconds, I like you or I don't. And if I don't like you, I'm going to probably let you know.
It doesn't work out well.
And so that's not how this game works and this networking stuff. And then you get people that kind of try to big league you and and I'm like, who the fuck are you, man? So it's like, I can't be that guy. It's very tough not to be that guy. But it's I can only imagine if I were, you and I'm like, hey, look, I got to run. I'm getting ready to go up and play in front of 15,000 people and go buy a coat rack.
Well, thankfully for me, I was touring a lot during the time we owned the business. So I'd be like, well, I'm sorry, but I gotta go.
She's at the spa and I'm in my studio, so it works out well. I mean, she's the brain, she's the face, and she's the man. She's the guy. Her last name's Guy. She's the guy.
I'm the guy.
She's the guy. So as long as I get to stay in my little bubble and do what I do, it's all well and good. And
just don't fuck it up, bro.
I've got no choice right now, man.
You better not.
This is my second chapter.
I know. I'm just saying, don't fuck it up, bro.
I don't know if I'll ever go back to radio. I don't know if I'll ever have the opportunity to go back to radio. And, there's only so much success I think I can have with this podcast thing. I mean, the stream thing is just an extra little thing we do.
Fine.
Like you look at artists. Okay, let's take the example I just gave for me for people like you that have had such huge success in major bands and find themselves, as we call it, on the beach. I don't know what y'all call it, but like looking for a gig. You get kicked out of you got kicked out. Well, whatever happened with Shinedown, you're out of Shinedown.
Yeah.
How long did you sit around and did you contemplate, hey, look, maybe I'm done. Maybe I find a new line of work.
No, he's too good.
Well, I actually did go back because I had formerly, right out of college, worked at the Bacardi Bottling Corporation.
That's right. Yeah.
As an analytical chemist. So, after the initial shock of being let go from the band, I was like, okay, I have two young kids at the moment, and I need to do something. And, about maybe a year went by, but I started doing stuff locally, of course. Actually, with Bobby, we had a band called Amaru. About a year after I was out of Shinedown, we were doing that. And then, but I went to my old boss and I said, hey, remember me? Kind of need my job back, So the thing was, I worked in the quality assurance lab there. So we tested the rum, we tested all the raw materials. We tested it when it came in from Puerto Rico and got processed all the way till it was bottled and shipped. But it was shift work. So when I went back there, I went back on third shift. And the first time I worked there, I had worked my way up to day shift, which was great, man. And that's when Shinedown was happening. We were forming it. I would work during the day, all day at the lab, and I'd go home and rest. And then we'd be in the studio making demos and stuff. At night and stuff. So thankfully, with the degree I had, I was able to go back and get a pretty damn good job. And then, I went to the NAMM convention in 2010 out in Anaheim, California. It's like the music merchandisers, where there's bands signing autographs for like Gibson and Fender, but they're also it's basically a retail convention. These companies are making deals with independent music stores and with Guitar Center. They have new products and they're launching and stuff like that, right? So I run into Brett Scallions, and that's when he told me he was reforming Fuel, and at the time it was going to be called Refueled because he hadn't signed off on the name with Carl to get the actual brand Fuel to use. And he said, all I'm missing is a bass player. So
I probably would have bought that shirt too.
Oh, it was good. Yeah. It was cool. I mean, whatever, Refuel, it made sense,
It does make sense. Do you have to go? I see you looking. I hear guys in the background.
No, I'm in a hotel and the lobby doors right here. So people are dragging their suitcases and it's click, 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 click. And then I'm just so I'm like, yeah.
So there's two artists that I knew personally that went through that. One was, and I haven't talked to him in years, but Ken, the original bassist for Nonpoint.
Yeah.
And I still don't know the whole story behind it, but I mean,
we're still friends with his ex-wife.
Yeah. He just literally up and quit. And I remember going over his house and he had all like his thing was he had those like pink Pepto-Bismol bases and that he would get obviously for free. And they were just, he's like, I'm getting rid of all my stuff. I'm done.
He sold everything.
Just sold everything. And now he's like a graphic artist or a digital artist, something like that, and just disappeared from the music world.
He doesn't even social media.
Yeah, it was crazy.
He's like, bye.
And the other one is rest in peace, Randy Rand, who was the original bassist for the band Autograph.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember, Atlanta guy, and I remember talking to him. I interviewed him a couple times. And this guy was just the sweetest guy, very shy. Nice. But I mean, think about Autograph. I mean, Jesus. I mean, Hot Tub Time Machine starts out with Autograph. It's in so many movies. If you talk about a one-hit wonder band and a song that big, I don't know how much bigger you can get than Autograph, right? So when the band whatever. He went back to making, what was it, like leather vests or belts or something. I'm going, that's fucking crazy. What an odd thing to go back and do. And then Autograph had a resurgence of some sorts, and he went back out on the road, and then he passed away when that was happening, sadly enough. But I always thought about that. I'm like, that would suck, man, especially if you're recognizable. There was years and years and years ago, my mother was living in, I want to say Brooksville, Florida. And I just got into radio. So this has been the mid 90s. And she had a picture of me with like a microphone. And this guy came over. I think I'm getting the story right. This guy came over and was doing her floors. He had long hair and they start talking. And he goes, "So is your son a musician?" She's like, "No, he does radio. Are you a musician?" He goes, "I was." And she goes, "Oh, did you have success?" And he's like, "Yeah, we had a lot of success." I want to say he was the original or the lead singer of Saigon Kick.
Oh, man.
Oh, I don't even know.
Yeah, dude.
Saigon Kick was fucking awesome. Like, I've got their album here, Little Green Lizard album. That album was bad. And I'm like, he's doing, talk about a humbling experience, especially if you're in one of those bands like Saigon Kick where the music industry passed you by. The genres passed you by.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could handle that. That's
it's tough because I went through that, and it was like, well, what do I do now? And the tough part for me too is that, it was at the end of a record cycle. So, had I known I was going to be sort of ushered out, I could have made, because when you're out there and you're doing it, you're out there, and I was actually even approached by Rob Zombie to join Rob Zombie's band when Blaskoff left for Ozzy. Both him and John Five approached me. In fact, we did Livestock, and then we did Earth Day Birthday. Shinedown and Zombie were both on that one. And I think I may have told you the story before, but long story short, they approached me and they said, "What is the story with your band? Like, are you hired gun? Are you on the deal? We need a bass player, basically, because Blasko's leaving for Ozzy." And I was like, man, I'm under contract. I've seen this thing from the ground up. I didn't tell him that there was drama on the second record and that, you know, I might be fired in 6 months, but I was. And it was just, you know, it was one of those things where, man, I could have been a zombie, dude. Like, fuck. You know, and I know to this day, you know, to this day, I'll see Rob, you know, at festivals or John 5, and I'll be like, dude, there's not a day that goes by I don't think about that shit, you know, turning Rob Zombie down. Like, fuck.
Well, Ken had an opportunity. I mean, I guess I can say this now, but he had an opportunity to join Disturbed.
Oh man, yeah.
At one point in time, but he stuck it out too for loyalty reasons. Yeah. And I like, you know, I mean, you're talking, you know, Nonpoint, great band, you know, good band and some good songs. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, there's a level shift there as far as money goes. You know what I mean?
You kind of also, you get used to the lifestyle. There's some adoration, there's the tension, and then you get to have a creative outlet for your music and your songs, and you get to see people react to that in real time. And it's a tough thing just to be like, okay, that's over. Just gonna go and do whatever else I know how to do, test rum or go be, you know, lay flooring or, I mean, I do real estate on the side. I have my license for about 7 years now. And, you know, you do?
Yeah.
All right. That's right. That's awesome.
Like really good at it.
You know, it's the kind of thing where my wife and I, we would always love going and like looking at what, you know, before I had my license, we were like, let's just go look around and see what's out there. You know, we drive the streets and shit, you know, and we own some rental properties too. We own, you know, several rental properties, and we survived the crash, of course.
Yeah.
Yep.
And when it came time to sell them, that's when I officially got my license and we sold them.
That's smart.
Yeah.
Really smart.
Good call.
That's it. That's just nuts. Again, from a fan's perspective of hearing stories of guys that you pay money to go see on stage and then realizing, you know, that they're real people, there's reality, there's, you know, and even some of these guys that make it to the upper echelon levels of millions and millions of dollars lose it in a heartbeat and have to start all over again. I'm sure you've probably seen that a time or two, right? Yeah. That's got to be real sad, right?
It is, man. I mean, and I think people, if it's not built properly, they get used to, like early on, they get used to a certain level of lifestyle. And most people I know don't want to go down in level once they've reached a certain level, of course, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, sooner or later, streaming or something like that takes over if you're in the music industry. And now the royalties aren't what they used to be because people are, you know, the streaming companies aren't paying out royalties that are substantial as they used to be when people are actually buying the physical copies. And terrestrial radio doesn't have as much of a foothold in the success of a band like it used to, which terrestrial radio, as we know, pays out royalties for you know, spins. Of course, you know, when they spin the songs, they have to pay out to the royalties to the owners of the copyrights. So, but you know, that's why you kind of start seeing bands that you're like, damn, they're out here doing it. Like, it's because of that they can no longer survive.
You see bands that, you know, I know Brad's frozen again, but you know, bands that were performing in giant stadiums, and then you know, they're now performing at, you know, smaller venues and stuff, which, you know, again,
tell you, I like it that way much better.
So do I. I mean, from a fan's perspective, I mean, from a paycheck's perspective, I'm sure the artist doesn't like it, but from a fan's perspective, you like, oh shit, now I can go meet the person, and now I can go get a picture with the person. But you know, from a radio standpoint, well, when I was doing a morning show, I always thought it was cool when those artists, especially the older artists, were trying to make a comeback, because now I can talk to them. You know, before they were untouchable. Yeah. And I always, and I still to this day, I keep a list mentally of the artists that were cool at one time, not so cool after success, and then want to be cool again.
Oh yeah. Oh, you know what I mean? He's like, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And I got to tell you, there are some, even for the podcast, that people have reached out to me, and I've said, you know, look,
he's like, I'm good.
I'm good. Thank you. Not interested. I hope you got the message. I don't care who you are, what your name is, and what you've done, because I mean, I've got a ton of stories like that I've never told. I'm not interested, and I know that's business and you're supposed to do it because I'm supposed to get content. You're fuck that, dude.
Not when it's yours, not when it's yours and you own it. You know what I mean? Then there's your choice. If I think, because you shouldn't be forced into those situations. It's bad enough you had to do it when you had to do it back in the day. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, like with Josie, for example, I remember I was so excited to talk to the guy. I was such a fan. And I talked to him, as we would say, down the line. He was talking to the afternoon guy at the radio station. And I asked the afternoon guy during a break, I was like, hey, can I just say hi? I was just so excited. I was like, I love Click Click Boom. And I said, hey, man, I'm the night guy. I just wanted to say hi and I love you. And way cool. Then I got the opportunity to interview him. Such a great interview. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
The second time, because you remember those once a year, you're always in Orlando, especially Shinedown. Once a year, it was like
at least once a year.
For a radio show and a House of Blues stop, it was all, Hard Rock stop. It was always once a year. Same with Saliva. It was always the rotating bands like that. Soil, Three Doors, Seether, boom, 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 Fuel, Seven Dust, of course. Yeah. Rotating. And I would notice that some of the guys would always stay cool. LeJean can't get
He's
cooler.
So nice.
Can't get cooler. I don't care how much success that guy's had or does have. There is not a cooler fucking lead singer out there. LeJean is just badass.
I agree.
Josie, that last time, dude, I'll never forget it. He sat down in front of the House of Blues, and I know he was probably going through something, and he was wearing a suede jacket, like a purple or blue suede jacket.
That's how much it stuck.
He sits down, and I don't even think I aired the interview, to be honest with you. I know we pre-recorded it, and I was just like, I was sad. I wasn't mad. I was just sad. Not that I would hold it against him now, because that's a different story, but my point is seeing the level of success to diminish, to success to diminish, and how they are treating people. You know what I mean?
Sure.
The story I told about Wes and Puddle of Mud, same thing. You know what I mean?
I've been on the road with people when they're going through some of these things. So it's kind of like, but maybe in another band, maybe internally in my own band. So, and when I see things sort of going off the rails, it is sad, and you kind of go, well, man, I hope they're able to sort of regroup and figure their lives out and figure also how, like we always had a saying back in the Shinedown days, and it was like the baseball bats come out on the way down. Mm-hmm. So you better be cool on the way up, because sooner or later it's gonna track downwards. Yeah. And if you've pissed a lot of people off on the way up, they're gonna beat you with the baseball bats on the way down. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's kind of how it is. So, I hope that in the situations that I've been in, I feel like I've treated people fairly. And, look, there are days where you're like, man, I don't want to be me today. I just want to be someone else and not deal with any of this shit. Right. But, it's kind of like you just kind of have to like suck it up and do it, man. And especially, you kind of don't have a choice if you're in a signed band where you signed a contract that says you will do everything in your power to promote this band, whether it's interviews, videos, pictures, photo shoots, the whole thing to promote this band. You're obligated. You have to do it. So they set it up for you and you go and do it. I mean, it's not like, so, and then there's situations where you might make your money just to play the show, and that's it. You don't have to, you're not obligated to do anything else.
No. So we had, I think it's on today's podcast. Pretty sure it's today's. We were having a conversation about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame the other week, and it got into, I started talking about groupies and how there are mothers and grandmothers out there right now. And I wondered that were groupies, from the 80s, sex, drugs, rock and roll. Right. And I'm
they're
like,
grandmas now.
And they're grandmas. Now. And I'm wondering, right. And I'm wondering, like, I asked a question to the guys. I said, I wonder if they share those stories, because it's a different generation. They would be Generation Xers, unlike the boomers, our parents, who kept everything close to the vest. They wouldn't tell most of them wouldn't tell you they smoked. They wouldn't tell you they had premarital sex. They wouldn't tell you they did drugs, blah, blah, blah. Generation Xers, I think I know they're more open. I'm going, I wonder how many of those women in their 50s and 60s are telling that to their kids, and then we got into the whole how rock and roll's changed with flashing and the sexual overtones and stuff like that. Even when you started in, late 90s, early 2000s, let's just say, those times had already gone, right? It wasn't like the 80s. And I'm sure you've experienced an 80s concert back when you were a kid of, Flash, Motley Crue. Tommy Lee would take a camera out, put it in the girl's face and say, show me your boobs.
Yeah.
Those days were done even pre-Me Too, right?
It's kind of funny because on that Van Halen tour, I remember a couple things. What was the famous groupie that was in, I think it's in the Grand Funk song, We're an American Band. It's something like Connie, Backstage Connie or some shit. You know what I'm talking about?
I know the line. Yeah, I know the line. Yeah.
Yeah. So she came to one of the shows and I remember being like, who's that? Like, and she was hanging with
you saw the real
one.
Wow.
She was there.
That's
and
awesome.
She was one of the truck drivers was like, oh, that's
Sweet Connie.
Sweet. Yeah. That's, from, the song. And I was like, and she looked rough, bro. I mean, like rough. I was like, God dang. So then last shows were the 2 shows in a row in LA at the Staples Center, back when it was called Staples Center. And Tawny Katane.
Yeah. Whitesnake
is in the audience. And,
Wow.
Shinedown had played and we're hanging side stage with Kevin Dugan, who was Michael Anthony's tech. And with Michael, because they, so on the right side of the stage, it would be Sammy and Michael. And they had Sammy's tequila. They had a little bar under there, right? And they'd be like, come drink with us during the show. So of course, we're going to go drink with them during the show. So we're down there. And, of course, Eddie would do his solo. So they'd come off stage and we'd hang with them. And so I look out there and I'm like, that looks just like Tawny Katane in the audience. And she was like, hey, trying to get my attention because we had just played or whatever. And she's like, get me back there. And I was like, I mean, dude, we were nobodies still back then. And it was a no comp tour to where I don't care if you were Jesus, you had to buy a ticket, let alone get backstage. You know what I'm saying? So I go to Doogie, Michael's tech. I go, I think that's Tawny Katane and she wants to come back here. Can you help her? So I guess he ended up helping her and got her back there. But I was like, and she looked different too by that time. Even in 04.
Yeah,
she was a little different. I know she's passed now. God bless her. But
well, you always wonder, right? Like women of the songs. Like I've always wanted a documentary or write a book. I would love to know their
Where
whole.
they all are now.
Bobby Brown, Warrant, right? I mean, Bobby Brown, Warrant. There you go. Tawny Katane.
Cherry Pie. Yeah, oh yeah.
Cherry Pie, yeah. Tawny Katane, without a doubt. Michelle, Guns N' Roses. Like, what is she up to? I know that Axl's, I think, first wife, I think her name was Erica or something. She still lives in Atlanta. But like, talk to me. Like, I want to talk to you. I want to know. I don't want dirt. I'm not interested in dirt. I'm just interested in the story. Like, to be that famous, to be in a song. I mean, think about one of the best rock ballads of all time is Every Rose Has Its Thorn. And that's Bret Michaels singing about his love and breaking up. I've asked him about it. He doesn't really, he gives me the business line, but he doesn't really open up. Like, where is she now? Who is she? I mean, I'm sure I can find out who she is, but like, what's that story? And to know that you're listening to the radio and you hear
song's about you.
That song's about you. How cool is that? Right. Yeah. I mean, you never can live down your past ever.
Or if it's Skynyrd and it's like some of those old Skynyrd songs. What's your name, little girl? I mean, that wasn't necessarily a good look for whoever that was, but maybe it was about someone somewhere down the line that he came up with that, what I mean? It's
Winger. She's only 17. Who was that?
I mean, would that fly these days? No. I mean, too, like people get in a lot of trouble. Have you seen some of the rants that have been going on about, what's that? It's a guitar player, So Ronnie Rack, he's been doing from Falling in Reverse, which I call them Falling in Reverse Cowgirl, of course. But so I'm also a comedian, whatever you want to call it. No, so he's been going on there and saying stuff about some of the pedophiles that are in like the music business, and I think he mentions like Eddie Trunk in there somewhere. Look it up because he goes off, man, and I'm like, damn, he's pissed. He's pissed about this shit, right?
Well, you know the conspiracy theory behind Chester and his death, right?
And Chris Cornell too, yes.
And Chris Cornell. And so I'm friends with Chester's first wife, Samantha.
Okay.
And she'll tell you everything you want to know about it. I mean, Chester, the conspiracy was, and I guess is that both Chester and Chris Cornell were going to start outing people.
Yeah.
And, ironically or coincidentally is probably a better word, they both pass away very, similar styles, very close to each other. I mean, just kind of weird. You know what I mean? You look at Hollywood right now. Hollywood during the Me Too movement, a lot of those creeps got taken out. Good for the people that took them out. They still exist, man. I mean, they still exist. So, like, I've not heard about the guy in Falling in Reverse outing people, but
man, we listened to it on the bus because, I mean, sometimes there's downtime, of course, and we're just like, and he was doing them. I don't know if he was doing them all in one night from his house or something, but he was pretty upset about it, man. And it's as far as the suicide thing, they call that. I don't know if you're on X, Twitter, but they call that being suicided. And I don't know, there's been some controversy about people as famous as Tom Hanks. There was an actor, comedian by the name of Isaac Cappy. And Isaac Cappy made a video before he died, basically mentioning some really big names in Hollywood, saying some really tough things about them, about their pedophilia and about some of the abuse that happens out there. And he died about a week later. He had an accident where he'd fallen off a bridge or something. And oddly enough, Tom Hanks had made a tweet about roadkill.
Well,
right around the same time that happened or right before it happened. And part of that, and not spreading rumors, this is out there. I mean, people are aware of this. I think there's a thing on X called Isaac Cappy's. It's someone that has carried on his sort of legacy or whatever. Yeah. And they post about it still. And they post the rant that he went on. And during that rant, he said, just so y'all know, I'm not suicidal. I'm not crazy. I'm not on medicine. I'm healthy. I'm happy. But I feel like this information needs to be out there. Right. And then, like I said, he was dead maybe a week later.
Yeah. And you look at, you kind of look at a guy like Chester, and I think it came out when he was younger, during his upbringing, he had a rough road with a lot of different things in a similar, kind of climate. But in the pop world, these young kids that are, we're seeing this with P. Diddy right now, right? Is that these young kids come up in the music business and they're away from their parents, and they're being groomed to be these cash cow superstars. And they're like, hey, look, this is what we do. I mean, think about how people laugh at Corey Feldman, right? I mean, call him what you want, say what you want about his music. But this dude, since, for 20 plus years, has been telling people that this stuff has been happening.
Yeah, nobody believed him.
And nobody believed him. They thought he was crazy.
Poor kid.
But it happened to him and Corey Haim. Yeah.
And
Corey Haim's dead now too. I mean, it's scary out there. They'll get to you and they will kill you.
Right. And then so you have millions and millions of dollars. You're a superstar and you've been groomed. And now you're like, well, I don't want to say anything because it's going to ruin my reputation or I'll die. I don't want to lose all this. It happened a long time ago. It's not happening anymore. It's a weird world. I mean, for somebody to blow the lid off of that, I don't know if we'll ever see that happen, just because I think there's way too many powerful people that can shut that shit all down. But
that are guilty of it.
Guilty of it. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you see Trump coming in, and I'm like, man, there's some people. That's why they're trying to kill him. I'm pretty sure because he ain't having that shit, dude. I'm telling you what. I mean, that Epstein list, that's gonna come out sooner or later. I mean, the Diddy thing. I mean, I don't know if you watched
some of it, the doc.
Well, even before it came out, comedian, what's his name? God, why is his name escaping me? Cat Williams.
Cat Williams. I was just
Cat Williams. He went on that talk show with football player from the Broncos.
Shannon Sharpe. That's it. Sorry. I got you.
Dude, sometimes the brain cells don't all work when you're on the road. You know what I mean? You bounce on the road, you don't get any sleep and shit, But anyhow, he went on there and he totally dimed him out right there. And he goes, I'm exposing everybody tonight. I tell you right now. Mm-hmm. P. Diddy, you're going down, you motherfucker. So and he did. He called him out, man. Yeah. It was like, I'm in a hotel. Sorry, I probably shouldn't be screaming.
People are where are you at? You're like in Utah or Idaho or something.
We're in just outside of Salt Lake. Yeah, we rode like 500 miles, and we have a show tomorrow in Denver. What's that?
Yeah,
the Mormons don't mind. Mother,
probably don't. You're right. Okay.
Yeah, you're sitting there. Must be one of those musicians that's rolling through town.
Right. I too am a motherfucker.
Yeah, but that's
crazy. Wait for them to throw me out.
That's crazy, dude. I mean, to think about, like, if we ever found out that some of the people like in the industry that we loved, like Chris Cornell and Chester, like the Chester thing, just that ripped me apart. I never met the guy. I was just a fan, just a fan. I lived vicariously through the videos that I see. And, there's one video of Chester. That's like when I talked to his wife or Samantha, I'm like a fanboy, I'm like, what was it like to wake up and have breakfast with him? Just like, tell me about it. There is a video of Chester at a big show and right, between the crowd and the stage, that little, press pit area. And there's a handicap section and there's a girl in a wheelchair and she's obviously got a debilitating something going on and she's in a bad way. But she's, just listening to the music with very little emotion. Chester gets off stage. Every time I see it, dude, I tear up and I get goosebumps. He gets down there and he sings the rest of the song to her, like just holding her hand. And I'm like, look, I mean, that's the guy, man. I mean, like, fuck, like it doesn't get, call a rock star, what define a rock star however you want. It doesn't get more fucking rock star than that. That's fucking rock star, dude. You know what I mean?
And that's life-changing for someone too, to experience that on her side of it, on her end of it,
Yeah, because you never know what happened afterwards, I mean, that could have been her last hurrah. You just never know.
We saw Chris, in Jacksonville at Rockville with Soundgarden, and that was one of my bands from between Alice in Chains and Soundgarden and Rage Against the Machine. Those were like my early, the grunge and then also some of the rap rock and stuff too, but for Soundgarden to reunite, that was awesome for me, man. And we saw him perform and then literally, not even, I don't think it was even a month later, he was gone. And it was like, he looked healthy on stage. He was singing his ass off and, he had a wife and he had kids too. I mean, he wasn't like it just very suspicious to me that transpired, but they kind of, I felt like it got kind of swept under the rug, man. Like I'm like, where's the investigation? It's like, I don't know, man.
Yeah. Well,
for Chester too, really. I mean, like it just felt like dirty. It felt like something was not right with the story.
Well, I had interviewed, God, what was his name? So Chester's original band, Grey Days, the drummer, what's his name? I got his.
Oh, I remember.
Sean Dowdell. Great guy, good dude, owns a bunch of tattoo places and whatnot. And I asked him, I was like, do you think there's any conspiracy behind Chester's death? And he was like, no, he was in a bad place. Just dismissed all of it, did not. And that's fine. I mean, the guy obviously knew him a lot better than I did. I'm just asking him a question and he's answering it. So you get in that kind of gray area where, no pun intended, where it's like, one side is, you know, whoever is pulling strings knows that people are going to have debates. One side's going to discount the other side side's going to discount the other side, leaving a conversation, and you're not a part of it.
It's just easy too for you know, I think mainstream media to focus on what they need to focus on. And also, I mean, when the fires happened in Hawaii, and then here comes the hurricane, and then here comes the fires in California. Now all of a sudden they're talking about something else. I'm like, whatever happened? Like, it's like, why don't we figure out these problems? Or even in Haiti, I don't know if you follow the USAID thing and Elon Musk and all the things that he's exposing.
Right. Yeah. All the money.
But all that money that supposedly went to Haiti, and only like 2% of it actually went to the people. Right. Billions of dollars. I'm like, man, that's unacceptable to me, man. That's bullshit. Like I don't know how to that even can happen in our world today. It's just, hey, she wore a Saliva shirt. All right.
Yeah, that's terrible. So did any of the bands that you've been in, especially current band Saliva, none of them have been political, right? That's never, as far as the music goes, never been political. Behind the scenes, maybe, but never really outspoken that I know of. Was that ever a conversation within any of the bands that you were in for a song saying, hey, look, we really need to, Shinedown's obviously a big proponent of mental health and mental illness right now. That's their thing. Same with like Papa Roach, but that's not political. That's something that people all can agree on. Like, thank you for bringing attention to it. Thank you for helping people not commit suicide, those types of things. But when it comes to politics, right and left, any of the bands, did you guys ever want to put together a song to make a statement?
I mentioned Rage. And again, that was one of my favorites. And they were quite political. Tom Morello's got like a PhD in political science, I'm pretty sure. Now, I didn't really become that riled up about politics personally until quite recently. And I still, though, believe that, when you're watching a band play and they start going off on rants about politics, it can be just divisive. I don't know that people are there for that. I feel like people are there really to more like escape the bullshit in the media and in their lives and in their political world, no matter how deep they're into it. So there's that, so I think the bands I've been in have always sort of collectively, we haven't really gone off on, it just wasn't the focus. It was more about, hey, let's rock the house and play the songs as good as we can for the people that want. They bought tickets for this. They didn't buy tickets for a debate between politicians. You know what I mean? So, but I mean, that doesn't mean that we don't hold strong opinions.
Right. Well, what about what about bands that you tour with that have a tendency to go on runs? Like, I'm sure you've shared a stage with Draiman and Disturbed. Yeah. Draiman, half the show's music, half the show's David Draiman. Brent, later in his career, got very talky on stage. Yeah. I don't know if there's somebody behind the scenes that says, hey, pull it back or not. But, Draiman is political. He gets up there, especially with the Israel and those types of things. Do you feel like those bands, if they're doing that, you're like, shit, man, people are going to think we're thinking what they think?
I think some of those bands are on a level to where it might alienate some people, but they've got enough of them out there where it's not going to end their careers by any means. Even Aaron Lewis,
yeah,
which I love Aaron, dude. He came to Jacksonville and my wife and I went and saw him, and I got to hug his neck and stuff. We actually stood in line at the meet and greet like fans. Mm. And, he's like, what are you doing? Anyway, so it was cool to see him, but he went off like he does. But yeah. I mean, he was in a situation and in a city, really in a state where people were agreeing with him.
Right.
So I don't know. It's one of those things where I don't think he would have cared either way if people agreed with him. But, but I think people come to expect it from certain people. It's not a big surprise, So, from certain bands and from certain artists. So, it's just.
Isn't it funny? Isn't it funny though? You look at the past 8 years of our worlds, and people like Aaron Lewis and which I think he was probably the biggest shocker, out of, well, one of the biggest shockers of like, where did he come from? Why is he saying this? It's like, this is Aaron Lewis from Stained, like mud shovel guy. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? But Aaron Lewis is extremely intelligent, very cool guy, and is very proud American. I love Aaron Lewis.
Love him. He's great, man.
Love it. Love Aaron Lewis. I mean,
too.
You sit down and talk with Aaron Lewis, that dude will go through a pack of cigarettes. He's awesome. If you're having a good conversation. And, Kid Rock is always stuck to his guns.
Yeah.
And Jason Aldean is always stuck to his guns. They get together, but within the last, 6, 7, 8 years ago, they were crazy.
Yeah, but that's not very shocking for like, it kind of goes with who they are, and they're not straying from character.
But my point is now they're not crazy. Like 7 years ago, people were looking at them like, dude, shut up, you're crazy. And now you're like, no, they're getting together, and you start to see bands that associate with them on tour, like Nickelback, for example.
Yep. Love
Nickelback. Nickelback's going on tour, doing this like American thing with Aldean and Kid Rock. Fucking awesome concert. You're going, okay, Nickelback's got the message, and they're Canadian. Like, what the shit?
America, fuck yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're not even from here. Like, that's pretty cool. You know what I mean?
I think there's definitely a shift, though, in Americans and in American politics this last go around, where I think people were just they voted accordingly, and I think it's interesting that the Republican Party had become now almost like a working class sort of party, and they won over, Trump won over individuals and that never would have thought would have voted for him. He ended up winning, in those demographics. And I think that was a sign to me that, man, he's about to shake it up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's about to shake up this whole world, and look what he's doing. I mean, it ain't even been, I don't even think the media can keep up with all the shit he does. Like every day I'm like, they can't even bash him for it because he's already doing something else that they can't even pivot. You know what I mean? To report on it, dude. I love it.
That's a marketing ploy. He's smart enough to know. He's like, look, I'll name this Gulf of America, and you ain't gonna remember me saying that shit. Because the media will jump all over that. But what I really liked, and I saw an article today about the Philadelphia Eagles. There was a rumor supposedly that they weren't going to go to the White House. We went through that over the, with his first run and even Biden in office and stuff. And it's like, dude, you go and you honor the office. You don't necessarily have to agree with the president, but you go and you honor the office. Like, we need to get that back. So I liked during his inauguration is that you had artists that didn't agree with him, didn't even like him. They weren't even getting paid. Like Nelly got a lot of heat for doing that. It was funny. Kid Rock was on Bill Maher, and Maher had asked him about the performing for Trump in the inauguration, stuff like that. He goes like, you do know that I performed at Obama's too, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't think Maher knew that. He's like, yeah. He's like, I don't give a shit. He goes, I'm a performer. You want me to perform at an event like that? I'm gonna fucking perform. That's what I do. He's like, you look at a guy like Kid Rock who doesn't give a shit, right? I mean, he cares, but he doesn't give a shit about your opinion. He's like, people don't even know that. They get it all twisted. They just think I'm doing it for one person. I'm an artist before anything else. I'm a patriot and I'm an artist. I like to perform. If I get to perform for a president, fuck yeah, I'm going to do it. Why not? It's like, shut a lot of people up.
Yeah, even Snoop Dogg. He kind of 10 years ago, he wasn't on the team, let's say. Now he's all about it. Cause I think, I don't know, man, say what you want about dude that takes a bullet and stands up, fight. I'm like, yo, after almost getting killed, if that bullet would have hit him, if he wouldn't have turned, I'm like, that to me, there's some divine like intervention going on there. Cause what are the chances of that actually really, I don't know, man. That's even Zuckerberg was like, he came out and admitted like that his company had done some shady ass shit.
Well,
as far as
if I were Trump,
social engineering, and
if I were Trump, I would get that tattooed on my chest, on my back. That picture, like, dude, that's chicks.
Remember, people were wearing the Band-Aid. Or
Yeah.
they were wearing the thing on their ear.
Wearing the thing on their ear, doing that thing.
Dude.
All right. Look, dude, I didn't realize this is like 2 hours in. I'm going to let you go because I know you got a million things to do. I'm going to kill the stream because we usually don't even go this long. But brother, I appreciate you coming on. I do. I love you. And I wish you nothing but the best on this tour. Tell the guys I said hello, please, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Stay,
Love you too. Love you, Rachel. I'm so glad to see her pretty face, dude. I'm telling you, you better watch out.
Next time when we come to see you in Maryland at Ocean's Calling, I'm going to wear my Fuel shirt.
Awesome. Yeah, dude. Hey, you know what? They're kicking ass. That's a great band. You know, just the legacy and the brand. I love it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know that we're on the same day as them either, but I hope we are because
Listen,
man, I'm a fan.
I'm only wearing my Fuel shirt for you.
Oh,
we'll also buy a
I'll
Saliva.
sign it for you. I don't know.
She'll switch shirts. And then when you get back and settled down, I know we keep talking about meeting up, but you're, only an hour and a half up the street. So,
Let's do it.
And we got to get you down here to Alive and we'll come up there and do some dinner in Jacksonville and whatnot. So,
Ozone, bro. I need therapy, period.
Let me therapize you when you get back.
well, that's what I was telling you the other week. I was texting you. I was like, dude, before you leave, come down here. All you guys need to get some ozone before you go out on the road so you don't get sick.
Dude, Bobby was like, let's do it. What day? And then it just got away from us, man. I even had my wife, I'm like, maybe we can go down to, because, my son goes to UCF. My oldest son goes to UCF down there. And it would be another reason to see him as well. It's a win-win.
Yep. I have patients that come from Jacksonville.
What's that?
I have patients that come to me from Jacksonville.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, and tell your son, if he, if he gets sick or something, to come on in. Don't worry about it. Just give him my number and tell him.
Sweet.
Tell
I
him
appreciate that.
Tell him to come in because, I won't go in for a whole commercial for Alive, but yeah, we can totally hook him up. But do you guys have at the end of the tour? Do you guys have a gig in Jacksonville to finish it off? Like usually that's how it works.
Man, we had a gig in Jacksonville. It was the old Club 5 Theater was rebranding, and it was going to be called 5. Ooh. But something happened along the way. They had booked shows, not just our package with Hinder, and I don't know if it was like a permitting thing. They had some renovations they had to do, but the show went away, and I had heard they had to cancel or move over like 30 shows. So that was kind of like a big mess up. So now the date that we would have been in Jacksonville, we're going to be in Huntsville, but we will be in Daytona March 6th at the Iron Horse for Bike Week.
Ooh.
But it's going to be tough because we're going to fly in from Cleveland. We have a show in Cleveland at the House of Blues, fly the next day super early, go straight to the gig in Daytona. So into Orlando, straight to the gig. And get set up, and then we play. And I think we're going to drive through the night. The bus is going to come down from Cleveland to Myrtle Beach, and we're going to drive in a van from Daytona to Myrtle Beach after the show in Daytona. Yeah, you believe that one. That's a good 7 hours, or at least 6 hours. And then that next day, we play House of Blues, Myrtle Beach.
Oh, wow.
So that for some scheduling.
so no Orlando show and no Jacksonville show.
We have Daytona.
But you have Daytona.
Daytona, yeah.
You have Daytona.
Daytona's right down the road.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you go out there and do a little cabbage patching and all that good stuff in Daytona. Bike Week's cool. All right, brother. Love you to death. Have a good tour. Be safe out there. Tell the guys I said hi, and we'll talk soon, okay?
Love y'all too. Peace.
See ya. There you go.
You
Brad Stewart, ladies and gentlemen. Kicking him out. Boom. He's gone. Brad Stewart from Saliva. That was fun.
He's so nice.
Well, I haven't got to any of the questions on the thing. Nick, are you still in here? Is Nick from Inspect All Pest Services? He's one of our moderators. So Nick, if you're still in, because I always ask Brandon how'd the stream go? Because I don't know anything about the stream stuff. So
yeah,
Nick has got access to all that now, I guess. So I don't know. I know some people gave subscriptions. I'm supposed to say thank you for that because that's awesome. Thank you. But here's what happened tonight. Oh, Nick, how do we do tonight, Nick? You got, I'm asking like you're going to. He's in the. He's got the link. He could join us if he wanted to, I think. If you still got the link, you can pop on. I didn't get to explain what happened tonight because Brad was here from the very beginning.
Yeah.
So Chuck, on
Oh.
Tuesday nights has baseball.
Oh, he's in friggin' crazy kid season.
Yeah, he's in kid season, so Tuesday nights are tough for him. That's eventually going to affect the podcast too. And then I don't know what happened with Brandon. He just said he was busy, so I don't know
I'm
why.
here, y'all.
So Rachel's like, "Hey, I'll be home. Jump on." And I was like, "All right, cool." And I shot Brad a text, and I was like,
didn't have to say much. Brad was here. I was like, "What up?"
"Well, he was only supposed to be on." Nick, you got the link because you've done it before.
Go back to your email.
Yeah, go back to your text. I know Brandon sent you. So anyway, Brad was like, "Hey, it can only be on for an hour," and then I got to go. So I was like, "Well, we'll go over an hour and we can bullshit about some other stuff."
Yeah,
Rach and I,
just hanging out.
we're going to talk about our trip to Alabama. I'm glad we're not going to talk about our trip to Alabama because we can save it for the Honey I Raised the Kids podcast.
Just kidding, y'all.
But when you listen to tomorrow's show,
Oh, what's tomorrow's show?
I talked a little bit about it, I think, on today's episode, but tomorrow I have developed a term for you.
For me?
For you.
Okay, what is it?
You don't want to know.
Why?
It's on tomorrow's episode. I don't want to give it away.
But
It's funny. It's fun.
For what?
It's actually,
though?
it's actually,
what is the context?
it's actually the snap that will be playing on our social media at Listen to the BS.
What's the context? Give me the background.
The context is,
Why do I need a name?
it's not a name for you. It's a name for something that you have when we road trip.
Oh, I annoy the shit out of you?
Yeah, but I didn't say that.
No, I know. You don't have to.
No.
I say that because I know I do.
I've given, okay,
The things that I do make you crazy.
don't ask me to define it,
Hmm.
but I will tell you the term.
Yep.
So everybody else, make sure you listen. Tomorrow's a freebie episode for you cheap fuckers that don't subscribe.
Cheap fucks.
You can listen to the episode.
Yeah.
I say that you have road trip Tourette's.
I don't know why. I have road trip.
Oh,
Tourette's.
saved by Nick from Inspect All Pest Services.
That's
Thank you,
not-
Nick.
It's not a save.
Thank you, Nick. How you doing, buddy? No, he's got to turn on his gaming headphones. Look at that. He's got little lights on the side. And all kinds.
Listen,
He's
plug
gotta-
it in.
He's got to
Get
hit reset with
get
the
your
pen.
little thing. Listen, Nick, do you go on road trips with your wife?
Sometimes, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can hear you.
Listen, I don't have road trip Tourette's. I am a passenger princess, which means I can do whatever the shit I want.
Yes, I fully believe you.
Yes. So I can
Sure.
put my blankie on over my feet. My blanket had feet holes and arm holes.
You'll understand on tomorrow's episode what I mean by road trip Tourette's.
I
And
saw
how-
it. I saw Bailey snoozing too under that leopard
Right?
blankie.
That
Well-
was the best. It's the best blanket.
Hey, bro,
ever.
trust me, it wasn't for that long.
No,
I hear you on that.
I'm not allowed to drive on our road trips
What-
because no, listen, because as soon as you fall asleep and I go over a railroad track or a bump in the road or whatever, you wake up and you go, oh my God, Rachel.
Right, that's how I act.
Yeah, just like that. Because you're real mad because you just fell asleep.
Anyway, all right. Well, that's tomorrow's episode.
I'm
Well,
just
we're not
telling
going to get into it.
All right.
Okay, we'll talk about it on our honey
Yeah,
episodes.
I'm going to say the same thing.
How do we do tonight, Nick?
Did good. We got some extra subs. We got some people cheering some bits. We got some new followers.
Oh, that's cool.
So it was a good night. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know shit about this, and with Brandon not here, I'm clueless. Like, I didn't even start the stream right. I started the stream like a podcast. I forgot to click the little things to go live, so I think
Yeah.
people missed the first minute or two.
I don't have access to that. That's all him. Since he's the streamer or the organizer, I just have moderator duties. So
Do we have any bad people in the comments?
no, I didn't see any trolls or anything
No.
bad tonight.
Nice.
Yeah, Big Daddy Bang Bang's been cool as shit, man. Good for you, Big Daddy Bang Bang. I appreciate
Yeah.
that. I really
Who's
do.
Big Daddy Bang Bang. I thought that was you.
It's I think it's Ron, this guy Ron. And Ron at the beginning had some issues
Oh,
with the show, me mainly.
Oh.
But then I think Nick had a conversation with him.
Oh.
And
Did
he's been like way cool. So
oh,
he's
well, good.
yeah, he was bitching at first, but I think he was doing that to like that old school.
He was trying to rib.
Yeah, well, yeah, he's trying to rib and rile the people up and all that stuff, but that's not really what we do.
You know how this platform is. There's always going to be trolls, no matter what you do. So you just pick and choose.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah.
You look good. I like the
Thanks,
beard.
man.
Oh.
I do have actually a good camera. I'm working on getting my whole new setup, so I'm doing pretty good. I got a new headset, so I'm not an offensive line coach anymore.
Yeah,
Um,
you look good.
so working. I need to get down there soon. I was going to actually give you one of y'all a call tomorrow to talk about coming back down. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
anytime you want, we're here.
Let me know.
Yeah, so for those that don't know, Nick with Inspect All Pest Services, one of our longtime sponsors for the BS podcast, which, by the way, if you own a business and would like more information on that, please reach out to me via thebaileyshow.com. Would love to have you on board. Nick has been traveling from Atlanta to Orlando to a live ozone therapy spa to do ozone therapy
He
and
lets me heal him.
some other things.
Yep.
And he stays at the Bailey House of Awesomeness, and
Yep.
it's rocking and rolling. It's good. And we love having you. So
I'm trying to get Mr. Milton to like me. So I'm working on that.
Good luck.
That is a goal of mine.
It's everybody's goal.
it's everybody's goal.
I'm going to get it. I'm going to get him.
Every one of my friends have always, it's funny because when Nate first came to Atlanta from Orlando and we hired him on the radio show, he stayed at our house for like
He
6
did.
months
Yeah.
and
Milton was not having it.
not having it. And like, it's very difficult not to like Nate. Right. And so, dogs, especially dogs, all dogs love Nate.
Yeah.
And it was funny because I remember it was like within, I left.
No. We went away for the weekend.
That was it. Yeah.
We went away for the weekend, and Nate was at the house and was taking care of the dogs, which he always used to do at your condo. He always used to take care of Allie. And so now at the house, he was taking care of the dogs. And he said that Milton wouldn't come down and didn't want him to come near him or anything. So all he did was every single day he would go up and he would just put his blanket on him and tuck him in. And
that was the trick.
it was like magic.
We got home and they were snuggling on the couch. I'm
Yeah.
like, what the shit just happened? He's like, we're boys now. We're boys.
He's like, I just tucked him in and told him it was cool. Just let me know when you're ready to hang out.
Those are the good old days. Unfortunately, those days are gone. All right. Well, I just wanted you to pop on real quick and tell me how we did. That's all.
Good. Yep. Did good. Appreciate it.
Brad was good.
Yay.
Call me tomorrow. Let me know when you want to come down.
We'll do it, buddy.
All right, man. We'll see you.
All right. Later.
All right. For everybody else, please like, share, follow the show on social media at Listen to the BS. Please follow Alive Ozone Therapy Spa as well on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at Alive Ozone Therapy Spa.
Buy some of my crack butter.
Yeah. So if any of you all are interested in going to the shop on AliveOzoneTherapySpa.com, remember you'll always get the discount. Just use BS Bailey Show BS10 at checkout. We have just added the Ozonator up there, which a lot of you have actually decided to purchase, which I appreciate. And also we are adding, if not added already, the tallow.
Yeah. Ooh, good moisturizer.
Okay.
That's a good one.
Moisturizer. Somebody asked earlier, will the ozone infused magnesium butter help with their plantar fasciitis? Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm a plantar fasciitis sufferer. Magnesium is a natural anti-inflammatory.
Yes.
So what happens when you get plantar fasciitis in your foot? It's a web. It's not actually your foot that causes the plantar fasciitis. It's your calf and your Achilles, which is pulling that to make it tight.
And the inflammation.
And the inflammation so you kind of rub it out in order to stretch out those webs in your feet. You take the magnesium butter and you rub it on your feet, your bottom of your feet, your Achilles, and your calf. It's going to alleviate a lot of the pain, if not fix the problem. Okay. I can't promise you anything, but I know it will help you. Okay. I can promise you that. So you can go on there and do that. If you want to sponsor, we're still looking for a sponsor for the live stream, this live stream thing that we do here. If anybody's interested in that, of course, you got the podcast, you got the radio show on Saturdays on JRR in Orlando and Planet Radio in Jacksonville. A lot of opportunities. TheBaileyShow.com. TheBaileyShow.com. Also, Chuck, if you follow him on social media, Chuck from the BS, he is auctioning off some really cool sports memorabilia items.
It's for the kids, y'all.
It's for the kids. And I know we got to give a big thanks to Jose with EPON in South Georgia because you hooked him up with these items. That Theismann jersey, I wish you would have told me about before you gave it to him. Now he's charging me top dollar for the damn thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, if you reach out to Chuck, he's got some really cool items that he's auctioning off for the kids for a good cause. All right, guys, thank you so much. We're going to end this. You want to say goodbye?
Bye, y'all.
Bye, you all.
Bye, y'all.
Where's everybody saying goodbye so I can post these on the way out?
I don't know.
There we go.
I hope they all have driver Tourette's too.
There you go.
Passenger Tourette's, whatever the shit I have.
You'll find out tomorrow. All right, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for support. We'll talk soon. Hey, bye.
Thanks for listening. Till next time, check out thebaileyshow.com. Make sure you like, share, follow on all socials. I leave you with these parting words.
Never got a pink slip either. You know what I would get? A guy would come around to my desk and say, "Get the fuck out of here!"
What do we want to talk about?